I knew something was wrong the moment I heard the crunch of footsteps in my orchard. Slow, deliberate, and definitely not mine. The sun had barely crested over the tree line, casting long golden beams across the apple rows, when I spotted her. Karen, the woman whose entire personality was built around rules, except the ones that applied to her. And there she was, strolling through my orchard with a reusable tote bag like she owned the place, plucking apples straight off my trees as casually as if she were choosing items in a supermarket. At first, I genuinely thought I was imagining things. Nobody was bold enough to trespass here. Not with the signs, not with the fences, and certainly not with the beehives stationed at the far edge of the property, my pride and joy, and a necessity for the orchard's pollination. But Karen wasn't nobody. Karen was a one-woman HOA. Before I could even say a word, she turned around, her expression already twisted into annoyance at me. "Oh good, you're finally here," she snapped, holding up an apple like it was Exhibit A in some bizarre courtroom. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." I blinked. "You're stealing my fruit," she scoffed. "Stealing? No. You must be confused. This," she waved her hand across my orchard, "is a community resource." I felt my jaw actually drop. "A what?" "A community space," she repeated with confidence she absolutely hadn't earned. "People in the neighborhood should be allowed to take fruit. Fresh, organic, chemical-free fruit. It's practically charity." I stared at her, trying to decide whether to laugh or tell her to leave immediately. Before I could pick either option, she delivered her grand conclusion. "So, I've decided your orchard is now open to the public. I'm starting with me." It took everything in me not to burst out laughing. "Karen, you can't just declare my private property public." "Oh, but I can," she insisted smugly. "In fact, I'm planning to bring others over later today to gather fruit. Maybe even host a little picking event. It'll be good for the neighborhood." That's when I saw them. The bees, dozens of them, beginning to circle above the orchard as the morning warmth coaxed them from the hives. Karen, of course, hadn't noticed, but she would. And very, very soon. Karen finally noticed the faint buzzing, but instead of being concerned, she just wrinkled her nose like the sound itself offended her. "Ugh, do you hear that? Your orchard has some kind of insect problem. Another reason it should be maintained as a community space. Shared responsibility." I almost choked. "Those are my bees, Karen. They pollinate the orchard. They're not a problem." She waved her hand dismissively, still clutching that apple like it was a legal document. "Well, they're annoying. You should move them. Or remove them. Or whatever beekeepers do. They're interrupting the peaceful community environment." "The community environment you invented 5 minutes ago?" I asked. She ignored me and reached for another apple. But this time something changed. A shift in the air. A slight tremor in the branches. The bees had fully awakened for the morning, and a large cluster was drifting closer, drawn by the scent of ripening fruit and Karen's perfume, which smelled like a citrus candle having an identity crisis. One bee zipped past her ear. She swatted at it aggressively. "Don't do that!" I yelled, stepping forward. "Karen, stop!" She swatted again, louder this time. "Get away, shoo! Your pests are attacking me." "They're not pests," I corrected, but it was too late. Bees don't bother people who don't bother them. Karen had decided to bother them. The buzzing intensified. A small scouting group spiraled around her head in warning. Instead of stepping away calmly, she panicked. "What are they doing? Why are they circling me?" "Make them stop!" she shrieked, spinning in a frantic little dance that looked half duck, half malfunctioning wind turbine. "Karen, stay still." I tried to grab her elbow. "They think you're a threat. If you just hold still." "No! They're trying to sting me!" "They're trying to sting me because you don't maintain your so-called orchard properly." She bolted between the rows of trees, waving her arms like she was signaling an airplane landing. The bees followed, not in a full swarm, but enough to make a point. I ran behind her, trying not to laugh at the absurdity. She darted toward the fence line, breathless and red-faced. "This is illegal. Your bees are attacking a member of the community." "I'll report this." "You trespassed," I reminded her. "They're defending their space, like I should be." Karen didn't stop to argue. She vaulted, badly, over the low fence, landing with a thud on the other side. The bees dispersed immediately, their mission accomplished. Karen picked herself up, trembling, covered in leaves, and angrier than ever. And that's when she said the words that told me this wasn't over. Not even close. Karen staggered to her feet, brushing dirt and leaves off her clothes as if the orchard itself had personally insulted her wardrobe. Her face was flushed, her hair a mess, and the apple she'd been proudly holding earlier now lay crushed beneath her shoe. But what stood out most wasn't her appearance. It was the look in her eyes. A mix of fury, embarrassment, and the unmistakable spark of a Karen preparing for war. This isn't over, she hissed, pointing a shaking finger at me through the fence. You can't let dangerous insects roam freely like that. I'm filing a complaint with the county. I raised an eyebrow. You trespassed, stole fruit, and provoked the bees. That's your interpretation, she snapped. The neighborhood will see it differently. Which neighborhood? I asked. The one that isn't allowed on my land? She didn't answer. She huffed, spun around dramatically, and marched toward the road like she was headed to deliver a presidential address. I watched her go, half expecting her to turn back and throw another threat, but she didn't. She disappeared around the corner, leaving me with a buzzing orchard and a very bad feeling. The next day, that feeling proved right. I was pruning branches near the hives when I heard voices, multiple voices coming from the front of the property. When I walked toward the sound, I found exactly what I feared. Karen, standing with two neighbors and a clipboard, lecturing them like the world's least qualified tour guide. And this, she announced, gesturing to my land, is the community orchard. Or rather, it should be, once the owner stops being selfish and cooperates. I stepped forward. Karen, she smiled, the kind of smile that hides a knife. Oh, good! Everyone, this is the landowner. He and I were just discussing making the orchard accessible to everyone. No, we weren't, I said firmly. Her smile tightened. You see? He's still in denial. The neighbors exchanged awkward glances. One whispered, Karen, I don't think we're supposed to be here. She ignored them. I've already contacted the neighborhood committee, she declared, and I've drafted a petition to designate this area as a shared green space. My jaw dropped. What? You can't petition away my private property. Oh, I can try, she said sweetly. And given how your bees attacked me yesterday, the committee might take my side. That was your fault. She folded her arms smugly. We'll see. Then she added the line that made my stomach knot. And if the committee doesn't act, I'll go higher. Karen wasn't just being dramatic. She had a plan. And I knew she was going to push it as far as possible. I knew Karen would escalate, but I underestimated just how fast she'd move. By the next morning, a white SUV rolled up my driveway with a county inspector stepping out, clipboard, badge, and official seriousness included. Karen followed behind him like an overexcited shadow, grinning as if she had already won. There he is, she announced before the inspector even reached me. The man whose bees attacked me. I demand immediate action. The inspector raised a hand. Ma'am, please let me speak. He turned to me. We received a complaint about unsafe beekeeping practices and unauthorized public use of private land. I took a calm breath. I can clear that up. Karen scoffed loudly. Oh, you'll try. Ignoring her, I led the inspector to the orchard. I explained the bee setup, the fencing, the signage, the safety protocols, everything done by the book. The inspector examined each hive closely, nodded at the placement, and even complimented the health of the bees. Karen hovered nearby, arms folded tightly. He's just telling you what he wants you to hear. Bees chased me. That should be enough evidence. They chased you because you trespassed and swatted at them, I reminded her. You were stealing apples. It was community fruit. She snapped. The inspector looked between us, confused. Ma'am, this is clearly marked private property. Karen blinked as if the signs had materialized moments ago. Well, they weren't visible yesterday. He walked to one of the large metal signs bolted onto a post. It's hard to get more visible than this, Karen sputtered. That could have been put there last night. The inspector raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, there are weather marks on this sign. It's been here a while. For the first time, Karen hesitated, but her defeat was only beginning. The inspector continued through the orchard, checking the fencing, the hives, the equipment. Everything passed. In fact, he said it was one of the best maintained small orchards he'd inspected that year. Then he delivered the final blow. Sir, he said to me, you're fully compliant. No violations. He turned to Karen. However, filing a false complaint is itself a violation, especially when it involves fabricated public use. Karen's mouth fell open. Fabricated? I was helping the community. The inspector handed her a warning notice. If you continue harassing the landowner or encouraging others to trespass, this will become a citation. Karen looked like she might actually faint. She stomped away, muttering something about ungrateful towns and rigged systems. But the fight had drained out of her. The petition died. The neighbors backed off. The orchard was peaceful again. And the bees? Well, let's just say they earned their honey that week. Can you believe what Karen did this time? If you enjoyed watching this chaos unfold, smash that like button, subscribe for more wild HOA Karen stories, and drop a comment below. What would you do if this happened in your neighborhood?